Okay, welcome to the first podcast from Crafty Terrain. Basically, this is just going to be me talking about Legion, hopefully providing a bit of entertainment for the community while you're painting. What we want to do the podcast is basically give us a bit more of a reach and a bit more of a voice in the community. Something on the side to the battle reps that we are normally doing. I'd like to welcome all the new players to Legion, everyone that got box sets for Christmas and stuff like that. I think you're going to find the Legion community is really welcoming to new players. There was to me. Shout out to Warcorgi. I know he's not making videos anymore, but when I first started doing battle reps and stuff, he was a great help to us and very, very supportive. And so is the Discord and things like that and Reddit. So if you are new to the game, go join the Discord, go join the Reddit, Facebook groups and things like that. Anything you need answering questions, you'll find people are very, very helpful. It's important to build the community of the game. You know, go support content creators, not just Crafty Terrain. I mean, there's the Fifth Trooper. There's lots out there and stuff that you can go and support as well on Twitch and stuff. You've got Yav and Bays, you've got Timbo and stuff like that. Go and support anywhere you can, really. Build the game. As more new people join the game, it's important to have a base for people to go and find content that they want to watch, in my opinion. So I think that's important to do, whether it be podcasts, battle reports, whatever you're into. Go find something you like and subscribe, support it, leave likes and things like that. Help build the Legion game. So basically, I'm just going to shoot from the hip a little bit, talk about Legion, talk about the hobby, just how to get into the game, how to paint, what you need to paint, what you need to play, and just as the weeks go on, hopefully people can find the information useful and stuff. But I want to start with us, Crafty Terrain. How did it start? Why did we do it? Basically, it was just I got to that point where I wanted to start something and find a new game. I'd always been into war games as a kid and stuff, and in my younger years. And then sort of just went into sport and stuff and stopped playing hobbies so much. As I got older then, I wanted to return back to hobbies as the sport window closed. I wanted a new game, and just by chance I was playing Magic the Gathering. Some of you might know that game. It's a card game at an LGS in Cannock, and I saw these Legion miniatures and I thought, wow, that's really cool. We'd always talked about, like, oh, wouldn't it be great if there was a war game that was based around Star Wars, because we used to play Lord of the Rings and stuff like that, and I am a big Lord of the Rings fan, as you might be able to tell from some of the stuff in the backdrop. And I saw this image and I thought, I just want to paint again. So I found myself some time, got my old paints out, brushes, some of them are dried up as they do, and just started painting. Bought a box set basically off eBay of used miniatures. Someone was selling their collection, and I thought, this is going to give me a project to focus on. Basically, some of them needed stripping the paint off and stuff, and starting again. So that's what I did. That's how I got into Legion. It just come about, I told Nick, and Nick was like, oh, you should do some filming. How are you going to do this? How are you going to strip the miniatures? And I was like, okay, we'll give it a shot. Don't know nothing about YouTube. Don't know nothing about making videos. But I did, just started stripping, and you can still see the video now. It's on the channel, like Luke Skywalker paint stripping video. It's one of the first things we did. And I just sort of made a video, messing around, sent it to Nick, and was like, Nick just sort of to run with it. And that was it. I was in, 100% committed. I was like, let's do it, Nick. Let's have a YouTube channel. Come up with the name Crafty Terrain, and that's sort of how the channel got born. Started making terrain videos because we didn't have no tables for Legion, nothing. So I started building terrain. I think we've got about 6 or 7 tables built in about 2 years, which is not bad going. And then we just started making battle reps and stuff, and sort of just went from there. Learned on the job. As I said earlier, Warcorgi was a great help. Give us loads of tips and advice and stuff like that. So really appreciate that. Okay, so you've bought your box set, you've opened it up, you've glued your miniatures all together, whether it be using plastic glue, super glue, whatever you've chose to use. For the hard plastic miniatures, I think plastic glue is the better choice long term. It's just sometimes you've got to hold them miniatures in positions for a long period of time to the plastic glue to take. If the miniatures are difficult to build, I will use super glue. Over years, super glue will decay and the miniatures can come apart. That is a downside to super glue, where the plastic glue, the cement stuff, kind of just like molds the plastic together and they won't come apart over time. So that's sort of options on glue that you've got. But let's say you've glued them all together already and you come into paintings, because I want to talk about paints and stuff and what to buy. So you can go with the Citadel range. They are great paints. Not my preferred choice, and the reason for that being is I just don't like the bottles. Over time I think they dry out, so if you're going to paint and then put your paints away and get them back out, let's say it be 6 months down the line or stuff like that, and when you return to painting, because you know in time you will have breaks and stuff, they can dry out. I prefer the bottles, the dropper bottles, the Army Painter Game Colour, Vallejo Game Colour, that is a model colour, that also a Vallejo range. They are my preferred paints to go to. They're a little bit cheaper than Citadel as well, which is always nice as you're building your collection, save a bit of money. So that's what I'll use, a cross between Army Painter and Vallejo basically for most of my painting. I've just bought a new cool range from Scale 75, they're up on my shelf over there, now the fluorescent range, so I'm looking forward to having a bit of an experiment with them, so that could be something cool for the future. Magna Guard is my plan to paint them using the purples and stuff. So, but what I will say about Citadel is I absolutely love their washes, their shade range, and that is what I use for all the washes on my miniatures. So I would advise buying Noon Oil Agrax Earthshade as you're starting to. That's a brown and a black basically. The Noon Oil's black and the Agrax Earthshade is the brown. Citadel have weird and wonderful names for their colours and they're just hard to remember and stuff. So if you're starting out, go with them two shades. When it comes to painting, get your base colours. You are better painting thin layers of paint. Don't make that mistake. A lot of new painters, they'll just go straight on with a heavy layer. It's thick, you hide all the detail and it just doesn't look good at the end, okay? So base layers need to be thin. Pick your colours, pick your colour scheme. Let's say you're painting Rebels, it's going to be green and browns, okay? Absolutely fine. Get them on, keep it nice and neat. Better doing a few thin layers than one thick. Look into wet palettes. It's an absolute game changer when it comes to painting and improving your quality. And once the layers are down, your base layers, your greens, your browns, then apply your shades, and they are like magic in a pot basically. Once the shade goes on, it completely transforms the model, runs into all the recesses, brings all the detail back out. And if you really wanted to, you can be done with the model there, put the shade on, and it's more than tabletop ready at that point, and you can just go and play and have fun if that's what you want to do. If you enjoy the painting side of the hobby, as I do, you want to look in then to like highlighting and layering up the colours back to the base layer and then brighter colours and beyond basically to really show the detail. There's lots of videos out there and stuff on YouTube of how to paint stuff, how to, you know, look at dry brushing, wet blending. There's lots of different techniques, but for beginning painting, just get neat base layers onto a model, add a shade, and you'll be amazed at how well that looks. Okay, so we've talked a little bit about paints. Let's talk brushes then. So if you're starting out, I don't really recommend buying expensive brushes. This is just from my personal experience. When I first started painting, I was younger at the time, but I was just destroying brushes because I just didn't know how to paint. I didn't know how to use the brush. A good little tip is you should always be pulling with the brush and never pushing. So the brush stroke should be pulled towards you, never push away, and that damages the brush. And I found that really helpful as a beginning painter, so I'd like to pass that knowledge on. Okay, so what brushes do I use? So I use the Ski 8404. They're the orange tipped brushes on the end. They're really good brushes. They're not too expensive. I'm talking in the range of between 10 to 12 pounds. I use a size 0, a size 1 and a size 2. That's pretty much what I use to paint. all my miniatures. They've really got a good tip to them, and that makes all the difference when you're painting. You want a sharp point. Then after that, dry brushing wise, I just use cheap makeup brushes. If I'm honest, I steal my wife's. She doesn't notice. As long as I take one every couple of months, she doesn't seem to notice, so that's fine. But don't buy expensive dry brushes when you're starting out. They get damaged and stuff, so just go to the pound shop, the dollar store, whatever the case is, and just buy a cheap packet of makeup brushes, and they will do the job really, really nicely. And then I also have another set of brushes that I got from Amazon, and you get like, I don't know, I think there's around 8 to 12 brushes in the pack, and I think I paid about £14 for it. Obviously they're not quality brushes, but for doing things like base work, so applying washes and things like that, where you don't want to use your more expensive brushes, then that's absolutely fine to do that with. But sable hair brushes are the ones that you want to go with when you are a bit more experienced and you're confident that you're not just going to destroy the brush within a few couple of weeks, basically. So I think that would be more advice on brushes. If you've got any more questions, I know I've probably missed stuff there, but you can leave it down in the comments and I can get back to you there. Okay, so just to finish off this little hobby section, we'll talk about what I've been working on recently. So when it comes to painting, I like to keep a couple of things on my table that I'm painting. So for at the minute, I'm painting Death Troopers and I'm painting Spider Droids, just because sometimes I find I'm not in the mood to paint something, so I want another option. So I like to keep 2 things primed or based or whatever, just ready to go, so I can change my mood and paint what I want to paint depending on the mood that I'm in, basically. So at the minute, I'm painting Death Troopers and I'm painting Spider Droids. So I'm going to give you a first little look at one of the Spider Droids that I've been painting. So if I bring that up to the camera, you can see that there. Basically, it's all metallics. I've got the start of the base on, but not complete yet. But it's all about the red glowing eyes, and I've been using a gloss varnish for that. So hopefully I'll have them on the table sometime soon in a battle report, and I will have 2 completed Death Trooper units, basically. So now Krennic's had a point change. Maybe the Empire gun line could be good again. Who knows? I'm not sure, but keep an eye out for battle reports coming in the future with them in. So as I sort of said at the start, I want this to just be something that's easy listening while people are painting, so somewhat entertaining and interacting with the community. So basically I want people to leave questions for us. If you've listened to this and you want me to answer any questions like Legion based, Star Wars based, I don't really mind, wargaming based, leave questions down in the comments. If you've got feedback for us, you know, I think everybody knows this already, but if you're new to the channel, Crafty, we love feedback, we take things on board, and we'll love answering these questions. But I put it out to our patrons in our Discord that I was going to do this, and I asked for people to just send in some questions, and I'd try and answer the questions the best I could, but I wanted some fun stuff. So shout out to Play Painted. He sent in this question. And also, if you don't know, Play Painted has offered anyone that comes to him, he's a professional painter, paints for a living, a discount basically. If you're looking to get any minis painted because you don't have time or you don't want to paint your own minis, he'll paint them for you at a very good price. If you've come through Crafty Terrain, he'll give you 10% off. So go to his website, Play Painted, and you'll get a 10% discount if you mention Crafty Terrain. If you're actually a patron and you reach out to him through our Discord, you'll get a 20% discount. So I think that's absolutely amazing. So thanks to Play Painted, and thanks for this question. He basically asked, what units would you like to see in the game? And I thought this was a fun question. It gives us something to talk about. So I thought what I'm going to do is I'm going to break it down, and I'm going to pick one unit to each faction that I want to see in the game of Legion, hopefully in the near future. So let's start with Empire, and a unit that I want to see is Thrawn. So if you've seen the animated series, which are well worth watching, Clone Wars, Rebels and Bad Batch and stuff, Fron is a main character in Rebels and is absolutely fantastic. He's more of your tactical guy. He's leading like the Empire forces, and I'd really like to see that in an Empire faction. So something around the range of like 100 to 130 points, maybe somewhere in that region. What keywords would I like to see on him? Like maybe cunning, because that is the way that he plays. Contingencies would definitely be another keyword that I think he would need. But I think his strengths mainly would be in command cards, and I would like he's a bit of a master tactician. So I'd like to see the command cards, for example, be able to mess with your opponent's command cards, a bit like the Han Solo 3-pip sort of thing where they have to return their card and stuff. So something like that where you get to look at their cards, or you get to return cards back to their hand, or choose what card they play on a turn. I don't exactly know, I'm not a game designer, but something along them lines is what I'd like to see for Fron, and something like where he's got good support abilities for the rest of the troops that you've got around him, basically a souped up Vias in a sense. So yeah, for Empire I think I would definitely choose Fron. Okay, let's move on to Rebels. So I love Rogue One. It's probably my favourite Star Wars film, but I say probably, it's definitely at the new era, but I don't know if it can compete with Return of the Jedi, just being a bit of an old school 80s kid. But I do like Rogue One, and I think I'd like to see for Rebels Saul Guerrero and the Partisans. I just think he could add a dynamic to Rebels that they don't have. Something where, like, you know, Saul Guerrero is a bit more raw, get the job done at all costs, a bit more considered a terrorist type character in the Star Wars lore. So I'd like to see that through, like his play, how he plays on the table. Don't know exactly how that'd work out, but I think I'd like to see that. And I think it'd add to the Rogue One theme that we already have in Pathfinder's Jyn and Cassian and stuff. But I do also think the I don't know their names, I can never remember them, but the two characters from Rogue One, the one guy who's blind and uses the Force, and his mate who's got the big machine gun. I think that guy's called Baz or something like that. I'm not sure, but you know, you can leave it down in the comments. That's great. But I think them as a unit, just the two of them, would make a great unit and give us something that the game doesn't have. A bit like how Fives and Echo are for Gar, but they're just two minis. They're their own unit. The one of them's better in hand-to-hand, the blind guy, and then the other guy's got the firepower with the big gun that's like a bit like a Z6 on a railgun with his big backpack, but more powerful obviously than a Z6 potentially. You could point them how you want to point them, but I think in the higher end, and give them multiple wounds, somewhere in the region of 50 to 60 points, make them special forces, something along them lines is what I was thinking. But I think something that we haven't yet got in Legion that I think would be absolutely amazing, and this could be a good unit to add it to. If not, there's another unit coming in a minute that I think it would work with, where an individual unit has a command card. So they are their own unit, but they get one command card to add. So if they're on the table, whatever, 1-pip, 2-pip, 3-pip, depending on how powerful it is, but you get that command card to play because you're playing this unit. It adds more diversity to your command hand. So you could have like a commander out, an operative, and that unit, and your opponent would start to struggle to work out what command cards you're possibly holding and things like that. I think a good name for the command card with this one would be on one with the Force, and the Force with me, because that is what he's always chanting as he's going into battle. So AMG, if you like that, you can take it, use it for free, don't worry. I don't need to be paid, it's okay. You can have that idea on me. So on to CIS then. So when I thought about this one, it was like I was struggling a little bit. I think CIS in the game at the minute, they've got great characters. They've got a lot of the big names already from the movies and stuff like that, and the animated series. But I decided to go with Jango Fett. I think he plays a big part in the movies. He's the, you know, base original clone. So I think he needs to be in the game. I think where the problems lie is we already have Bobber. So it's like, is he going to be the same as Bobber, and how do you make him different? So Bobber's about to get a big update, we think, for when the Shadow Collective comes out. So maybe that's a chance there to introduce Django in with the Shadow Collective potentially, but with how they want Bobber to be, basically. So for example, Bobber's command cards are like all weapons, and like now the game's moved on, weapons are just upgrades and they're not command cards, so it's kind of lets Bobber down. Where Django, I think you give him more upgrade slots so you can equip more weapons to him. I think that's what people want with bounty hunters. It's definitely what I want with Mandalorians. I want to be able to kick them out how I want to. So do I want to take a shield like Sabine? Do I want to take a whipcord launcher? Do I want to take, like, the weapon in the Mandalorian, the wrist rockets that he's got and stuff? Things like that. Pay the points for them, build them out. I mean, let's say Django's base cost was 90 points and his base stats are just okay. But then you could build him up with weapons all the way up to 140 points, 150 points, things like that, I think that would be key to making bounty hunters actually playable. So if you're playing CIS, you're playing Empire, you've kind of got the bounty keyword, where if you play Rebels and you play Gar, you've got secret mission. Well, secret mission's way easier to get a victory token than bounty. My opinion, but I think that's, fair to say. So let's be able to build these bounty hunters so they can go after characters with like really unique weapons. And I think Django would be a nice way to start that off for CIS, because Cad Bane needs some help. That's a different subject, but he's probably going to get that help. But let's give CIS a real top-notch bounty hunter. Plus, I think the paint job of having that metallic armor on the battlefield would look really, really cool. So my pick for CIS is going to be Django. Okay, so let's talk Gar. This was the most difficult when it was what characters I want to see, because it's so rich with lore and characters from Star Wars, all the Jedi, things like that. So I was just like, had to sit down and really, really think about this one. But then I decided to move away from the Jedi. We've got Obi-Wan, we've got Yoda, we've got Anakin. It's like, how many Jedi do they need? Yes, we're going to get more Jedi, and I'll kind of cover that in a minute. But I decided to go with The Bad Batch. I'm currently watching The Bad Batch for the second time. I have seen it. And it's such a good show, and I think it would add something to the game, again, that's a little bit different, that I want to see, where you can add like a unique unit that's got different abilities and you can kit it out and build it how you want. I mean, with The Bad Batch, you've got lots of choices if you want to add them in. So I think you should have like kind of how Clan Ren works. You have one to start with and you add minis. So for example, you want to take Wrecker in to the squad. He brings more hit points, he brings the heavy weapons, that sort of thing from Wrecker. You take Tech, you've got more support abilities, things like that. Crosshair gives you that long range weapons. You kind of get what I'm getting at. Build it out how you want to build it out. You could even give them an individual cost like Fires and Echoes and be able to slot them into other units if you wanted to. I'm not too sure about that, but that could be a good idea. But I also think that there would be another unit that could come with an individual command card, because they're going to be a high cost unit, aren't they? It's gas a lot, but they're going to be really good. They're going to be special forces. Yeah, so I just think I want to see Bad Batch on the table. Plus, again, I think the paint job that you could do with them, their armor and stuff, is awesome. So for me, it would be Bad Batch. But I was torn between, because there's two characters that I don't want to move on without mentioning them, that really need to be in the game. One's Ahsoka, and probably one is going to be Mace Windu. I think a lot of people want to see them two characters in the game. Okay, so that's your 4 factions. And then I was thinking to myself, we've got the Shadow Collective coming very soon, hopefully. So I thought I'm just going to throw one in there. didn't think about abilities and stuff like that, but a character that I really want to see in the game that would tie in nicely with the Shadow Collective is one word: Jabba. I really want Jabba in the game. I just think having him on the battlefield, a big unit on that like oblong base that you sort of get like the Gav tanks on, that shape base. Not as big as a Gav tank, obviously, because that would just look a bit silly. But I think he would be a great unit to add to that scum villainy Shadow Collective faction. He's a crime boss. I think it ties in so nice. It's going to be a big model. So, you know, from an AMG point of view, they're going to be able to make a bit of money on that and a bigger model. Great command cards I could see with Jabba being able to, like, you know, buy people off, bargain, that sort of thing that give you another dynamic to add to the game, like around the command phase, because I think that is an area of the game that has just only recently had the surface scratched of it, like with like Divulge and things like that, where you can add tactics and gameplay to the game of Legion to make it deeper. Yeah, so for me, I'm going to pick Jabba for the Shadow Collective. Okay, so going to end the first podcast there. This is a pilot episode, you know. It's kind of feeling my way through it a little bit more. I have an idea of where I want to take this, what I want it to be. As time goes by, I will improve at doing this, as we do with all things. I mean, go back and watch our battle report #1 and just see the difference of how we've learned and developed and built a better like product production sort of thing. So hopefully that is the plan, that I can do that with this also. What do I need from you guys? What do we need from the community? So I would love questions. Get down in the comments, leave us a question. Hopefully I'll be able to answer them for you. If there's loads, I can't do every question every show, but I will write them down. I'll take the best ones and things like that, and I'll try my best to answer them. That's how I want to build this. I want to interact with the community. Like I said, if you're in England, around the Midlands, and you've got a good local game store where you're playing Legion, let us know down in the comments. I'll shout you out. I would love to come down and play some Legion at some local game stores and stuff like that. So, you know, get down in the comments and let us know about that. So, one big thing we'll go, I've not named this podcast. I just thought I'm just going to leave it, and hopefully I'll take suggestions on names for this podcast. Around Legion, the name needs to be Star Wars or Legion based, and then hopefully I can pick the best couple, put it to the patrons, and sort of have some sort of vote, whether it be for YouTube patrons or whatever. And I'm just going to let whoever the people pick a name for this podcast. If we don't find one, we don't find one. It'll just be nameless. As it goes on, hopefully people might join me. Happy to have people on and stuff like that from the community. I'm sure Nick will join me for a podcast or two if he can make it, and that would be cool as well. So yeah, basically, if you want to support Crafty Terrain, then subscribe, leave a like. It costs nothing to do that. It just lets us know that people are receiving the content that we do well, and gives us encouragement and motivation to make more content. If you want to go the extra mile, then we do have a Patreon. Check that out. We've got 3 tiers. Basically, that does help us buy new units, do these more content, that sort of stuff. You know, I can't express the gratitude that we've got for the patrons. We've got a fantastic community in our little Discord group. Everyone talking about terrain, painting, miniatures, list building, tactics. Proper cool, really enjoy it. So if you want to check that out, just £1 a month, and that you're in the Discord and stuff. But yeah, like I said, check out our different tiers. And we do have a big giveaway coming up. I mentioned it in the previous battle report or something like that, but we're going to be giving away a full table of terrain. That's all I say at this point. No pictures of the terrain yet or nothing like that, but we're going to give away a full table. So if you've just got into Legion and, you know, building terrain and getting a table ready for your first game is a big part of the hobby, well, you can enter the giveaway if you're a patron and win a full table. But there's more to come on that. So I hope you've enjoyed this first episode. I hope I haven't rabbled on too much. I hope there's been some food for thought and got people thinking. If you've got your own ideas of units that you want to see in Legion, get down in the comments, put them down, keywords, stuff like that. Love reading it, and we can interact there. But until then, may all your rolls be crits, stay safe, and I'll see you soon.